Hi, I'm Alexandra Lively, Senior Content Manager at Nadex, and we recently held a Reddit AMA with our CEO, Travis McGhee, and Director of Business Development, Dan Cook, to answer your questions on all things binary options, Nadex, and trading. So, let's jump right in and get started with a fun one. Travis, Big Daddy Pimpalicious, commented, "McGhee is also my last name. Cool. Just like that, I'm interested." Any remarks?
First remark, incredible username, screen. What do they call it on Reddit? Screen? Username. Big Daddy Pimpalicious. Fantastic. Great last name as well. McGhee, world domination. We're taking over the world. At least that's the plan. So, Big Daddy Pimpalicious, welcome to the family.
And Dan, this one's from Dirty Ratty. He came in a bit confused and frightened and said, "For a second, I thought it said Dane Cook, and I'm not prepared to take financial advice from that man."
I probably wouldn't take financial advice from him. Often confused name. It's funny when I get takeout from a restaurant, and there are all these people waiting to see Dane Cook walk in, but then they're disappointed with a balding middle-aged man. I wouldn't take financial advice from him either. Any markets, risk is key. Got to manage it. Great thing about Nadex is the self-directed aspect of it.
Absolutely. And a question from Too Generic. Travis, what do you think of the John D. McDonald books that have your namesake as the hero?
Oh, well, any book with my namesake as the hero is bound to be a classic. Great books. Funny story with John D. McDonald. So my grandfather actually, for my 8th birthday, imagine being 8 years old and you get a set of books, but my grandfather gave me those books when I was 8, so it's crazy. Similar to Dane Cook to my right here. How many times when I board an airplane or wherever and people see my name, they're always like, "Oh, have you read the John D. McDonald books?" Yes, I've read them. Great books.
Awesome. Now here's one for both of you. Maddie Leibs asked, "What's your favorite type of sandwich?"
I'll jump in. Pimento cheese.
I'll jump in with something better. Originally, I was going to say cheesesteak, which I love, but I'm going to support local restaurant across from our office, Luke's. Cheesy beef on a croissant dipped, 1,200 calories of goodness.
I completely agree with you. Very good sandwich. Okay, so let's get into the actual trading questions. Go Bears 11 asked, "In one sentence, how would you explain binary options?" Now I'm going to throw this to both of you, but Travis, one sentence.
Well, in one sentence, a binary option is it's a yes/no question based on an outcome of an underlying event. So, no more complicated than that.
I think that's exactly it. Keep it simple. It's a yes or no question, and what is the probability of that question being yes or no?
Okay, and so Dan, this transitions well. So N. Lowell here asks, "Can you do an Eli 5 on binary options?"
I think we actually just did. I think one of the biggest things is not overcomplicating them. They are a simple yes or no question. The price is based on a probability of that outcome. As markets fluctuate, so does the price of the binary option.
Great. So Memetron 9000, are binary options similar to exotic option strategies? Travis?
I mean, there are similarities. For instance, they both have the name option, but they're different in a lot of ways. I mean, listen, I think it's one issue, if there's an issue amongst many in the industry, is we throw out complicated nomenclature and terms for everything, and I think it scares a lot of people. Whether that's option, binary, exotic. There's all these crazy names, but at the end of the day, they're exotic strategies or exotic option strategies probably have far more complexities than a binary option. Again, if you go back to that first question, a binary is just a simple yes or no question. And you encounter binaries every day, all day long. And am I going to eat Luke's beef for lunch? Yes or no. As you get closer to lunchtime, that probability is going to change. It may change to a different restaurant, but at the end of the day, that's a binary. Exotic option strategies afford you different opportunities. Certainly, when it comes to hedging a portfolio and mitigating risk in other ways, they offer you other tools. So any trading application, any trading strategy It's like a tool belt. They're just tools that you can use for different things. Binaries being on, the one end of that, where again, it's just that simple yes/no.
Absolutely. Now, one from Marlon Nash. For someone that isn't a day trader and has a full-time job, should I even consider binary options? Dan?
So each individual is just that, an individual. So what might be right for some people, maybe long-term horizon. From a time perspective, you have 23 hours a day. You can trade when you want, how you want. Most traders at Nadex have other jobs, they have other responsibilities. Some people trade at 9 p.m. the Australasian markets. Some people are a big fan of waking up early, trading the close of the Europe and open of the US session. So it affords that opportunity, but again, with all trading, take your time, understand the risk when you get in. One of the great things about binary options, all Nadex contracts, are the defined risk, and you can do them on a very short time horizon.
Absolutely. Okay, McHama729. How much experience / trading knowledge would you say one should have before diving in and trading a product like binary for Forex? Would you say it requires more dedication and practice than traditional trading in order to be successful with binary options? Travis?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'd throw the question back at you, like, how much experience do you need to run a marathon? I mean, you don't necessarily need any experience. You can get started, but it's all about how you get started, right? So if you take a marathon as an example, if it's your first time running a marathon, you're probably not going to go out the door and run 26.2 miles day one. You're going to start small, and you're going to work your way up over time. So there is that process that's involved. Trading in general, and I don't care if it's a stock, a binary, an equity option, a future, whatever the case may be, as you're getting started and you're learning a new skill, it's best to start small, it's best to practice, it's best to educate yourself and grow into it over time as you step into that process and you let that process live the course of its life. So you can't rush the process. In a lot of ways, you've got to fall in love with the process. So does trading a binary option require the same process and the same length of a process as trading an equity option or a future or a stock? Yeah, I mean, I think it deserves the same amount of attention that any of those asset classes demand.
Absolutely, great answer. Okay, this one's from Throwaway on Xmas Day. Are binary options just normal options with all or nothing risks? Dan?
So they do share some similarities. The biggest difference is that all or nothing expiration, whereas a traditional option is very linear, meaning if market moves up a tick and you've bought the call, the value is going to change by a tick. The all or nothing aspect, being 0 or 100, creates, without getting too complicated, markets that would be otherwise flat, because it's going to go to 0 or 100, you can see it really volatility just based on the contract really make it move. So it shares some similarities. You have time factor, you have volatility factor. However, when you look at a binary option and that all or nothing settlement, and this is also the one thing I want to point out, which is the biggest mistake people make, is thinking that they're all or nothing, which they are at settlement, but it's like trading anything else. All binary contracts are $100 contracts at Nadex. If you buy a binary at a value of, say, $30, and it goes to 50 or 60, you don't have to wait for it to go to 100. You can close it out early to lock in profits, or if it's going against you, just like any trade, you want to manage that risk. If you buy a binary at 30 and it drops to 25, 20, close out, mitigate those risks. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make with binary options, is thinking they have to hold it until expiration.
Yeah, absolutely, and definitely a misconception with Nadex as well. Z-Boot asked, why should anyone use your platform? Are you subject to the same reporting requirements as, say, Ally Invest or Robinhood, or are you regulated in a manner where you are less transparent?
Happy to take this. So Nadex is regulated by the CFTC, Commodity Futures Trading Commission. So some regulation is CME, anybody doing futures. Nadex is what's called a DCO, DCM. So self-clearing, it is an exchange. We are here to match buyers and sellers. So we do have regulatory requirements that go on with that. Transparency, this is the important part of an exchange, is the transparency. If you need to see settlement, you can see exactly how we do settlement. You want to know where your funds are held. They're held in top tier banks. We have it on our website. So very transparent. And if you do have any questions, reach out to us. We're happy to address those.
Travis, this one's for you from Chemist Adept. Have you ever considered offering a micro contract of sorts?
Yeah, I mean, we have. I think one of the things we pride ourselves in at Nadex, myself, Dan, the entire team, is we're always looking to innovate. We have a saying in the office that complacency kills. So we're constantly looking to improve our product, whether that's the platform, whether that's the trading products we offer, binary options, call spreads, or the underlying markets, and expanding opportunity to markets across the globe. When it comes to micros, certainly something we're looking at, certainly something we're discussing on the heels of other exchanges like Chicago Mercantile Exchange launching micros in some of their products. And for those who don't know, a micro contract is basically just a smaller size contract than what we currently have. So a micro to our typical binary. So if our typical binary is a $100 contract, you could offer a contract that expires and settles into $50 or $25, right? So you look at it almost like if you had a stock, and for instance, you see sometimes stocks get super expensive to the point that it starts to prevent everyday retail traders from being able to invest in those stocks. So what they'll do is they'll split the stock up to, it increases the float of the stock, but it gives you a smaller price point so more people can get involved with it. That's the idea behind the micro. Are we there yet? Not yet. Again, it's something under strong consideration right now. Don't have a time frame on it. But I would say to all those at Nadex or looking into Nadex, it's something that's definitely on the horizon.
Awesome. So Gorman 35, can we please have API access? The market data published daily is an absolute gold mine. Any chance the raw data could be published as a CSV as well? Dan.
So this one I'd have to actually defer to the tech team, but happy to answer that. I'm glad you find it a gold mine. It is very useful. And there is, for market data, there is an opportunity for API. Now we do have several projects going on, which in the near future will make it much easier to access this data in a much more public user-friendly format. So not here quite yet, but reach out to customer service as well. Have them reach out to me. I'm happy to talk through what it requires to have an API access.
So Hype Reality 1987, what is the process for how the contract strike price is determined for each 5-minute binary interval? Does the market maker determine, or is it determined by Nadex?
So for all of our strike prices, whether that be binary options, knockouts, call spread, all of the strikes are determined by the exchange. We do this based on a model of the true range of a market. And we do the assessment. So depending on the time frame, whether that be 5 minutes, daily, weekly, as the market moves, we set those ranges based on historic movement. That said, when we hit times of extreme volatility or times of lower volatility, for example, March 2020 traded a lot different than June 2019. Right? The markets were expanding. So in those cases, we widened out strikes. The whole goal is to keep a fair, double-sided market that gives people the opportunity to trade in and out under all circumstances.
And our next question is from Moltmans. Correct me if I'm wrong. Binary options are like normal options trading, but instead of being a week or so for the smallest time frame for payouts, it's down to minutes. And the binary means simply 1 or 0, yes or no. So that's why it's so fast in comparison, Travis?
Again, I mean, we touched on this a little bit earlier. I mean, there are certainly some there's some likeness between the two, an equity option and a binary option. Yes, the binary option being that yes or no question. Yes, the binary option settling into either 0 or 100 offers you the flexibility to adjust your time frames. I don't want to say necessarily offers you the ability solely to offer a 5-minute contract. When you look at equity options, and not to go too far into the weeds, there's standardization that comes in the industry with the OCC, with FINRA, with the SEC, that there are requirements you have to meet, and they're just not there yet with a shortened time frame that would align with the Nadex timeframe. With the way we're classified and the way we operate and being under the CFTC, we're afforded the ability to get a little more creative and in some ways aggressive with the time frame that we're able to offer. So yes, being a binary option the way it's structured, we can offer it in that shorter time frame, the 5 minutes. But I wouldn't say that's precisely why that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and our next question is from Zappers. Does anything prevent your business, besides any laws, from manipulating a market, trading limits, or anything else that may affect an end user to control your bottom line? Dan and Travis, actually.
Well, so obviously, laws are the biggest thing that we're regulated by the CFTC. It's important to note, Nadex is an exchange. We're here to match buyers and sellers. We don't participate in the markets. So Nadex as a firm, nor any of the employees are allowed to trade on Nadex. This is how we remain unbiased. Right? We don't have a vested interest in the outcome of either trade. There's always a buyer or seller, and if it's held till expiration, one is going to be right.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's unfortunate you get a perception that as a comparison that Nadex is like a casino and we're the house and we're going to win 90% of the time and we're pocketing all the winnings. It's just simply not the case. No different than CME or any regulated exchange. We are an intermediary. We simply match the buyer and the seller. The way Nadex makes money in full transparency is through the fees that we charge to execute your trade. No different than the same fees that you would pay at any other brokerage firm. So it's a fee-based business. We're not incentivized for one customer or another to perform better or worse in any way. To Dan's point, we simply are matching buyers and sellers. That's all we're doing.
Okay, and the next question, I'm cheating a bit because I should have probably posted it on Reddit myself, but after all this great dialogue, I would love to know what each of you love most about working at Nadex.
You want to start, or Ben?
I'll start because clearly I'm biased. I've been at Nadex since 2011, but even prior to that, so for the few years prior to that, I was very involved with Nadex, including designing a couple of our products. What I love is what we were founded on, the founding principle. And we had the question about micro contracts and different things. For the longest time, the individual trader was shut out of the markets, right? You wanted to trade an oil contract at $1,000 a point, you couldn't do it. Nadex gave people a way to start and trade sensibly. It wasn't about big institutions and all of the abilities that they had. We were founded on that principle of opening up, democratizing the markets for the individual, but doing that in a sensible manner, meaning all defined risk. So if you put $20 on a trade, that's the most you can lose. And you know what that is before you hit the button. So many leveraged markets, and I've seen it firsthand. I go back quite a ways into the 90s. We've seen different environments where all of a sudden people lost a lot more money than they could expect. And I think that's one of the proudest things that I have knowing at Nadex. Yeah, it's trading, it involves risk. You can lose whatever you put up for a trade, but you can't lose any more than that. And that security to me is just of the utmost importance.
Yeah, for me, I'll say, first and foremost, it's the people. We've got an amazing team. It's just a phenomenal organization. People are just so passionate about not only the industry, but just retail trading in general. It's something I'm passionate about. I spent virtually my entire career in it. And what I like about Nadex, and kind of to piggyback on what Dan was saying, is, there's for better or for worse, and it's still pervasive, this Wall Street mentality that, our product, and certainly there's the same mentality with equity options and futures. It's super risky. It's super risky, and it's kind of a pet peeve of mine that I'm passionate about because there's risk in anything. And it's up to the individual trading that account to determine what risk is right for them. And who am I to tell someone that they can't trade something or you can't have access to this? And that's, in my mind, the downfall of Wall Street, is that mentality's been pervasive for eons, that Wall Street knows better than the end user of what they need. And quite frankly, it's something that crushed the retail sector in the last financial crisis. And there were people who had access to speculation, who had access to trade price action and market direction in a similar fashion to Nadex, in a very short fashion, who did quite well because they knew the rules of the game, they knew how to do it. What we've done with Nadex is we've opened that up to retail traders. Is there risk? Absolutely. Is there risk in trading GameStop and AMC? Absolutely. But it's not for us to determine what the end user can or cannot do. We have to provide opportunity, we have to provide access, but at the same time, one of the things we pride ourselves in is we're going to educate, and we have educational content. We now partnered with an amazing, if not the best, content providers out there in Tasty Trade. Our education is in our blood. So it's not about putting people on this journey that they're just flying blind down. If you want to learn how to trade, we're going to help you learn how to trade. We're going to teach you how to use our products. We're going to teach you how to manage risk. But at the same time, we're going to afford you the access that, as a retail trader, I don't care how wealthy you are, what your bank account looks like, or where you went to school, you're going to have access to it, and we're going to grant you that access.
Wonderful.
I think that's, I'm just going to piggyback on that real quick, because I think that's one of the greatest things just about trading in general. It doesn't matter where you grew up, whatever pedigree you want to have. The market treats everybody. It involves risk. You need to understand that risk going in, but it's unbiased. It will reward and punish at the same time. It doesn't matter if you've got 17 degrees or if, like me, you never did that well in school in the first place. It's there, and we provide access to that opportunity in a sensible fashion.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, both. That wraps up our Reddit AMA questions for today. And if any of you have any further questions, drop us a line anytime. We're here.